particular challenge that we have across the globe. First, I have from the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency. She's a Principal Staff Officer, Drug Demand Reduction of NDLA, Mrs. Eukaria Eko. It's nice having you join us on the program.
Good morning, sir. Thank you.
All right. We also have in the house from the Ogun State Ministry of Health. It's actually the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Ogun State, Dr. Adesoya Ayinde is also in the house. It's nice having you join us on the program.
Thank you.
All right. This morning, we are addressing socioeconomic implication of illicit drug trafficking and abuse. And altogether, we shall be looking at the United Nations theme for this year's celebration, drawing attention to the problem of drug abuse and what have you. And that's why the theme is better knowledge for better care. I'm not doing this alone. Moses is also in the house.
Okay, I also welcome you to the program. But quickly, let me just start with Mrs. Eukaria. Of course, you know that every June 26th is a day to reflect, you know, to look at the efforts, what progress are we making when it comes to drug abuse. So, in the fight against drug abuse and illicit trafficking, how have we fared? In the past 1 year or 2 years, have we made significant progress against this menace?
Yes, we are progressing because in NDLA Ogun State, recently we had a few months ago, we had a destruction of seized drugs, which amount to almost 100 and something tons, which was destroyed in the state. These are drugs that was seized from various areas in Ogun State. Imagine if those drugs had not been seized, if it had gotten to the public, who knows what would have been the condition today. Because the issue of drug abuse is a menace that we have to fight. And we have been doing this to the best of my knowledge, even though we have some challenges. Apart from the arrest and seizure, we, in collaboration with the Ogun State Drug Control Committee, have visited a lot of CDA associations, traditional rulers, schools, especially the secondary school, because the issue of drug abuse or substance abuse is what we have to impart the knowledge at the initial time, at the inception, before they grow to, start initiating this drug. We have been going to school. We covered almost about 150 drug-free clubs we established in the state through this committee. So we have done a lot of things, even though we alone cannot do it. The issue of drug encompasses a lot of people to join. The traditional rulers have to be there. The civil society, they have a role to play. Then the NGOs that will go to the grassroots so that we nab this problem at the grassroots level. Because if we fold our hand, we are waiting for Ogun State's Drug Control Committee, we are waiting for NDLA, they alone cannot do it. It's what everybody has to come together. If me as a parent, I notice certain things in my children, I will come up. This is it. Because what we see is that most parents, they start denying. And they're denying, the problem is growing harder and harder. But if they should come out and say, yeah, this is a problem, all of us will join hands and nab it at the board. Because I have come across a woman that was helping the son, keeping the soft drink in the fridge, not knowing that it's a concussion. If they come out and join us so that we curb this problem. You see, the theme for this year said better knowledge for better care. Some people are not even knowledgeable about what is this drug, what are the consequences, how do I even know when my child is into this drug. And you know this period, this COVID of a thing, is a very, challenging to the children. For more than 4 months, the children have been at home. They are also passing some challenges. If parent does not use this period as a period of, creating bond, the lapses that have been created when the mother is out looking for money, the father is out looking for money, leaving the children at the care of even untrained teachers, even house help. This is the time to create bond, to show love, understanding. We come together and form a rule with the children so that they will also understand the family values. This issue of a drug can, be reduced.
Okay, Dr. Inde, well, I wanted to continue from where Mrs. Kyria left off. Let's look at that theme again, talking about better knowledge for better care. Can you expatiate on this more?
Well, we can see from what she has described that it's a worldwide menace, because we have over 190 million people, young adults, who are engaged in drug abuse. So, as she said, that we need to nip it at the bud. You see, we need to carry out the gospel in the schools, in the society, in the towns, in the villages, on the news media, in the schools. So because of that, Ogun State Ministry of Health has formed more than 150 drug-free clubs in secondary schools in Ogun State. So we also go to churches, mosques. We distribute information, education, communication materials, IC materials to places so that people might know the danger of these drugs in our society, because it creates a lot of problems. Like she mentioned, people, because of the lockdown, the children, the young adults, they are at home, adolescents, and many of them, they are less busy. And if they are not, if this knowledge does not go around, if they are not kept busy doing useful things, the devil will find, mischief for their hands. Therefore, this needs to be known, and we need to be able to make sure that the young adults, adolescents, are well informed about this. I have a personal experience. Because of the lockdown, one child, 20-year-old boy, left the school, came back to the house because she cannot continue with the drugs she has been using in the school. She became agitated. She's having withdrawal symptoms, and that was how the father brought him to me. And so, we had to counsel the boy, counsel the family, and introduce him to where he will be taking proper care of. So it's all about us. It's all about our society. We need better knowledge to get better care.
All right, Doctor, I'll still stay with you right now. Ogun State Drug Control Committee.
Yeah.
Was it a child of necessity? Was it as a result of the fact that in and around Ogun State, surveillance actually showed that perhaps this drug abuse and all of that were at the very high level that necessitated this committee?
Yes, it's a child of necessity because it's all over the world. We have this menace, and in Ogun State, especially here in Nigeria, we have the problem. We have the problem. We cannot shy away from it. So we know that we needed to establish these clubs in the schools so that we are able to enlighten our young ones about this issue. In Ogun State, we have 17% of our young adults are into drugs, and that's a large percent. That's about 1 in 7. 17%.
That's quite high.
That's quite high. And in the Southwest, we have 22.4% taken into drugs, but in Ogun State, 17%. It's quite high. So we cannot shy away from that fact that it is very necessary to educate our populace about drug abuse.
Okay. You gave a very simple analysis of the situation, which I appreciate. But let's look at this issue of drug abuse. With your experience here, what category of drugs do we find mostly abused? Because in recent times, we discovered that with all the reports around, apart from the traditional ones that we know before, the cannabis and all of that, we now have those ones they even buy from the pharmacy that they also abuse and become something else. Now, from your experience on the field, which of these categories of drugs do you find most abused by the 17% which the doctor referred to?
Okay. From my own personal experience, at least I've been in drug demand reduction for the past 10 years in Ogun State.
Oh.
Yes.
So you must...
yes. So the drug that is highly abused, apart from the cannabis that is generally is abused or misused by the general public, when you come to issues we are having, what we will normally have is what we call a poly user. You see somebody is using marijuana. Apart from marijuana, he uses shakpe. He uses squishy. Squishy is the extract of marijuana. They boil marijuana with hot water, extract it, then put local gin, put tramadol, then put flavor. Then they serve it as a squishy. Then another one is, you see a lot of them abusing tramadol and cough syrup with codeine, especially in urban toko axis. There was a time we carried out a small research with the pharmacy and patent medicine dealers. You found out the thing they sold more within that period is cough syrup. They'll be selling maybe 10 cartons, 5 cartons in a day. Then when we ask who patronizes you, they say mostly the students in that axis. And I have came across a student that the parents brought. So when I interacted with him, he told me, he can take 4 or 5 bottles of cough syrup in a day. Then how did the parents came to know? He used to be a very brilliant student. It was when his GP started coming down that the mother became worried. What's the problem? So luckily for them, there are two of the siblings living in the same place. So the other one said, Mommy, I keep on sleeping. I don't even go to lecture. The mother came to the school, checked, and saw that the attendance wasn't encouraging. And they also said that attendance has a mark in the school. So the mother started asking. So it happened that the senior one used marijuana to cook endomy. And this one will eat it, not knowing the content. After eating, he will sleep. Then the soft drink their mother bought, they have a small fridge they put. He will mix cough syrup with different things. The boy will carry it and be drinking, not knowing. But the senior one is a seasoned drug user or substance user. So is this other one that started manifesting this grade of coming down that the mother knew and started questioning. So when you, just as your question said, is all this mixture. There is the one they now call science students. They can put a lot of things that we cannot even imagine. They will be drinking it. You will not know. So what we are saying today, because of our UN International Day celebration against drug trafficking, we are saying that knowledge, we are not supposed to stigmatize people that use drugs. We are to show them love. Because if we don't use love and passion to treat them or address them, they cannot come out of it. There are something we call risk factor to drug use. Sometimes people do not take to drug because they are morally weak or because they are not well trained. There are some risk factors, which is genetic, which is environmental, which some people are born mentally disordered. Do you understand? So what the whole world is telling us that we should be taking action that can that can unite all other nations. What is applying in Nigeria can be applying in UK, can be applying in Ghana, it will work. Okay. We have to get this knowledge so that now when my son is exhibiting drug problem, I will take him to Babalawo or take him to church. I should address it as a drug problem, which is 50-50. He can still come out of it. There is treatment and there is rehabilitation.
All right. Okay. Dr. Inde, it's no doubt that drug abuse is quite disturbing, especially the prevalence in our society. And it's even more disturbing that some secondary school students, young ones also abuse this illegal substance. So I want to ask, are we doing enough in the area of sensitization or awareness?
Well, we may not be doing enough, but all our aspiration is to do better, because we can't say that we have gone to the limit, but we must still improve the education, all right, the enlightenment in our society, to see that all these aspects are well looked into, because we know in the schools, we have group pressure, peer pressure, is there, all right. The young ones, they want to feel free, they want to enjoy life free of work, free of responsibility, and we know that nothing, it cannot be. So we need to have a kind of mentorship for the young ones, so that they can be better. Even while they are at home during this lockdown, you see, the parents should have time for the young ones to enlighten them and to make them see essence of life. They should also try to make sure that they are kept busy, So because we know that, my colleague mentioned, you see, when they are into drugs, there are side effects, like, they drop out of school, they lose their grades. Many of them, they can have mental problems, personality problems, So all those things are possibilities that can happen to their life. So we cannot say that we have done enough. We must continue to improve. We must not rest on our oars as to, giving the society better knowledge, so for better care.
Now, I don't know to what extent it's this modern technology has actually brought the problem of drug into various homes. Because why I ask that question is this: when my own generation was growing up, it's not as if we didn't have this drug abuse, but you would see people around the house. They probably go into the bush or somewhere. But these days, even before the primary schools close, you will see these guys coming into the school compound, even when these kids are still there. particularly in public primary schools. I can mention, if possible, some schools where get there from 1:30, they won't be the one that will be, pushing the teachers that look like they are the owners of this place. When you look at, I will throw the question to the two of you. Let me just give now, when you look at the rates at which these things are done in those schools in the afternoon, we begin to be afraid for the life of our children. Now, the first one to you as the law enforcement, do you think NDLEA has the capacity to address this huge, large abuse that we are now having in terms of the spread? Because don't let's kid ourselves. Even in Ogun State here, and there is no major town that is spared. How have you been coping?
Yes, what you said is right, because I remembered our focus in Ogun State Drug Abuse Control Committee is on public schools. We have been in a school that the teacher told us how a student, carried a knife and started pursuing everybody. Even the teacher, everybody were running. So they have to call police. It was when they called police and they heard the boy and searched his bag and saw that he has all these drugs with him. You see, the NDLEA alone cannot do the job. Okay. That is why the then chairman, chief executive of NDLEA said that drug problem is not what only NDLEA can do. That is why he went ahead and established a state control committee where NDLEA cannot reach. The state control committee can reach that place because they are from the grassroots. So what we are saying is this: the NDLEA needs intelligence, they need information. And when you give this information, if there is no vehicle for NDLEA to act, they cannot do magic.
Who is to provide that one?
Well, the vehicle is the logistics to work.
Yeah, I understand.
So, if there is no logistics for somebody to work, it also hinders.
The federal government should improve the logistics.
Yes, if they improve that, they will do more. Okay. Can you believe that in Ogun State we have only one wretched Nigerian-made healers? I don't want to go to that area.
Don't worry, that one will be addressed. But the most important thing is that the NDLEA is having some challenges in terms of coping with the spread of drug abuse.
What I want you to understand is this. Sometimes people do not really understand what it takes to get a conviction in the court.
Okay, that's another area.
When you are giving NDLEA information, you give NDLEA information, and when they go there, they did not see a sizable quantity of drug to prosecute the person. Do you understand? Yeah. The NDLEA will be handicapped. They will just cancel that person.
What do you mean by this sizable?
What I'm saying is,
if someone is found with even a wrap of...
If you are found with a wrap of
is that not enough for prosecution?
It's not that it's enough. It's enough, but the person claims he's a user. And you looking at a user coming in contact with the person for the first time, not that he has a record of being arrested, subsequently this, you just, okay, you're a user. You said you're a user. That is what the whole world is telling us, that we should not be criminalizing a user. That a user is somebody that has a social problem, that needs our help.
And then cannabis will solve that social problem.
Yeah?
You said a user is someone who will probably say that he has a social problem.
No, I said it's somebody that is using drugs is regarded as somebody.
Let me take Dr. on.
But let me just round up this. Right. Let me just come in small. What I'm saying is this: if I should now arrest somebody with one wrap of marijuana and carry that person to prosecution, with one wrap of marijuana. The judge will look at me as if to say, and he has no record that he has been on this in 2, 3, you have won him first and second time, and he continued. So what we normally do is, when we go and we pack all these people, you see he's a user, he's using tramadol, he's using cough syrup with codeine, he's using marijuana. What the person needs is counseling. You have to train him, let him understand the implication of what he's doing, not even to the government, to himself first, before his family, before now the society at large. So the NDLA, they are working with their blood. Honestly, if we should tell you what we do here, you will even encourage us.
At another time, we'll bring NDLA. Talk about today, we are still celebrating you.
Yes. Yes.
Doctor, at what point does a user become an abuser? Medically, that's one. Two, the second leg of this is that from the picture she has painted, certainly it's like the problem is overwhelming them. From your ministry as the one in charge of health, to what extent are you also extending hand of fellowship?
To start with, it is very saddening, as we mentioned, that even in primary schools, you see, there's drug abuse. So it is a very, very sad issue. Okay, when our children start even from primary school. Now, coming back to your question, that how do we help NDLA? How do we call it? It is not a job of one section. It is the job of everybody. It involves everybody. It is like the native parlance that they will say it's a masquerade, agon, that we all have to carry together. So it is, we can't leave it at them alone. State government, federal government, all agencies need to look at it and see how we help our society, even religious bodies, because many of these people, they are looking for joy, they are looking for happiness. Now, when they cannot get natural, joy that comes from living useful life, it is then they resort into drug. But this is, you see, the joy, the happiness that the ephemeral world cannot give. But it is when everything about you and about your creator, adds together, that gives you that joy, that knowledge we must impact on our younger ones. That's very important. Then because we know that it should be a collaborative effort that will give us a good yield as to drawing our young ones away from drug abuse. That is why the Ministry of Health is involved. Now you ask, when does drug become drug abuse? You see, because you see, these drugs, they are psychoactive drugs. That means they affect the brain cells. When they affect the chemistry of the brain cells, and because that the brain cells will depend on it to function suboptimally, then it becomes a drug abuse. You see, now they will claim they will need a small one, then it becomes a larger one, then because before it was occasional, then it has to become regular. If it is not there, they cannot function. They cannot feel stable. They feel agitated. That is when it becomes drug abuse and drug dependence.
And that's okay. We'll still come back. We have to take a short break, and when we come back, okay, probably we'll also have the opportunity of taking calls. If you want to ask some questions, you'll be free to do so on the program this morning. But after this break, don't go away.
Tablets, capsules, and injections help treat illnesses and help us stay healthy. However, inappropriate use of such medication can lead to worse conditions or even death. Consulting pharmacists and doctors to review new medication keeps us safe. Do you know that a mix of aspirin, supplements of ginger or garlic could lead to fatal internal bleeding? Antibiotics taken with milk rather than water can affect the absorption and effectiveness of the medication. Some deaths can also be self-inflicted. How? Taking medicine recommended for your neighbor or family member, believing you have the same ailment. Even when the drug is original, its storage determines its effectiveness. Some need cool room temperature, others the fridge. Don't self-medicate.
Remember, don't buy your medicines from unauthorized chemists, kiosks, hawkers, buses, or even supermarkets. Don't!
Look out for the RX sign. See your doctor regularly.
Welcome back. It's still Newdawn, and today we are addressing socio-economic implications of illicit drug trafficking and abuse. And it's part of the celebration of United Nations Day on Drug Abuse, Better Knowledge for Better Care. That's the theme for this year. And we have two personalities in the house that are involved at the level of Ogun State Drug Control Committee. Moses, you...
Okay, well, let me continue with Mr. Sikeria. I think one of the valid points you've made is that NDLEA cannot do it alone, so you need other agencies and, of course, to help. So I want to know how has been the synergy with your agency and security agencies in the states?
We have been enjoying a very good synergy with other security agencies. Most of the time, police will make an arrest. They will transfer it to NDLEA. Custom will make an arrest. They will transfer it with NDLEA. And sometimes, when we are going out for farm destruction, we don't go alone because our manpower might not be able to cover the farm. We also take some officers from civil defense, sometimes from army, to assist us. We are enjoying a very cordial relationship with the other security agencies around.
Okay. Now, Doctor, you are making some points earlier on before we go. But you know why I'm taking some of these things up with you on this. I know they have responsibility to handle issues relating to drug. But when you look at other health issues relating to the effect of drug abuse, then it becomes more of issues beyond the NDLEA. And this time around, let us do an evaluation of economic implication of all of this. If 17% of our youths are involved in drugs, which ultimately maybe 12% of the, maybe 80% of that 17% may end up having problems with their health. And if you look at this, we are saying our future depends on our youths. Are we not actually having a future that is being destroyed right from now? And is it not also worrying you as a health practitioner?
Well, I'm equally worried, and the society should be worried. You see, you need to go and see them near the motor parks. Okay, young adults, vibrant. All they do is to sit down in the morning and be drinking the mixture of what Mrs. Ikeria has just described. See, and that is loss of man-hours. Okay, and eventually they will become poor, and eventually they will take into crimes. They will take into cultism. All right. So you know all those brigandism, all those violent behaviors, they will take into them. You see, even the people who are productive, who are working hard, by the time these people, they take the drugs, see, they will go and vandalize whatever they have been doing. See, you can't not but find them among the armed robbers, you see, and all these Yahoo, men, they are the ones you find there. So they lead to economic loss, socio-economic, adversities, is rife in that kind of a thing. So we cannot but be concerned. So therefore, we join in this, trade of, the preventing drug abuse, in our states.
Okay. Well, he made mention of, at times having these drugs or some of the illegal substances at our motor parks. And I could remember that recently I spoke with an FRS official who said it's actually not within the purview of FRS to deal with, those that hawk or sell, some of these drugs at motor parks. It's actually within the purview of the NDLEA. So what are you doing in that regard?
Yes, in most cases we have carried our awareness to the road transport workers, the NURT. We have gone to park to sanitize. If had it been the chairman of the OSDIC is here, or the PS must have been briefed that we have also put a memo to the House of Assembly through the Ogun State Drug Control Committee to make a bylaw concerning selling of this concussion in the park. There is a memo to that. So these are one of the efforts we are doing. Sometimes when you go to park to say you want to apprehend somebody, it becomes a rowdy thing. The whole park people will gather up against you. So that is why we focus more on sensitizing the NURT. They are the people that control that garage. We have sensitized them, even the accommodator, we carry all this awareness to them so that they know the dangers in doing this thing. And most of the time, when the Federal Road Safety do their December this thing, we're always there with them to also sanitize them against this thing. You see, the problem is this, what we are doing, just as the PS has said, channeling this awareness to the grassroots. Because when it comes to drug use, the satisfaction they get when they use this drug is overwhelming. It's just like you eat food. Maybe you get euphoric of 10%. You drink, you take your best food, or you did sexual behavior. When you take any of these psychoactive drugs, it gives you 90% of euphoric feeling. Do you understand? So the reward circuit, response to nature is overestimated when you take this drug. And that is why when they use it, they keep on requesting for it. But if you prevent it from the beginning, no experimentation, the person did not even experiment it at all, it will be easier than waiting for somebody that is already hooked, or let me use the word addicted, which is now a chronic disease, that is a relapsing issue. After treatment, the person will relapse. So it is better we curtail it from the beginning. Let there be no experimentation. Because once they are into this drug, the excitement they get, the euphoric feeling they get, because they become hooked to it, that even if they don't want to use, some of them want to stop, but they're handicapped. They don't want to be called amugo. They don't want to be called useless person. But they are constrained because it's now a brain issue. That even when they don't want, the body will be requesting for it. So the best thing is, what this Ogun State Drug Control Committee and the drug demand reduction of NDLEA is doing to catch them young, let them not experience. You see, we have even gone to the extent of going to PTAs association so that we talk to parents, because these issues start from home. If the home is scattered, anything can come in. Drug can come in, and when it comes in, it becomes a problem. So that is what we are doing to curtail it from the beginning. If you go to park, a lot of things are sold there that are not even covered by the mandate of NDLA. But they are substance of abuse, and they have their health implications.
Okay. Doctor, it seems you have some comments.
Yes, concerning the issue of law, the bill, concerning the proposal they sent to us, the bill is already in the House of Assembly to promulgate a law that will ban the sale of those illicit things around the motor garages and around schools.
Now, tell us what has been the experience of this committee in terms of the activities or the focus of the objective of the Ogun State Drug Control Committee. Have you been able to control? Is there any shift?
We believe that our activities have had positive impact on the schools, the parent-teachers associations, and all the churches, the mosques, where we take the gospel to that our youth should desist from drug abuse. Because first of all, people need to be enlightened. You see, it is true that it may not be 100% of people that will, abide by what you say. But the fact that some people, that you say it, means that some people will hear it and it will sink into them, and it will be making positive impact rather than not doing it at all.
Okay. Now, you've just sent a proposal to the Assembly in terms of enabling law. Yeah. Is that an acceptance that the present law that takes care of drug control, prosecution and all of that, does that mean that it's not strong enough, and perhaps that's why we are having this escalation?
No, it's not that it's not strong. But you see, I cannot carry somebody that is selling shepe or monkey tail, makoloma.
Which one is monkey tail?
These are the, I can't carry the person to court because it's not in the mandate. Okay. Do you understand? But if somebody is caught selling marijuana, I can rightly say, okay, I will prosecute that person. But when you come to that park, you see a lot of things that actually alters the mind of the user. And our drivers are there that will carry us to our destination, exposing us to a risk. So that is why we said, let us bring this bylaw that will prohibit them from selling all these things. So that if now it's marijuana, we know that there is a law for that already. But you will come and see somebody selling all sort of things. Somebody can buy tramadol. Tramadol is not illegal.
Okay, it is the abuse that is...
Because doctor prescribed it for pain relief. The doctor is here. So the way you abuse it, it becomes, hazardous to the body. So, and you find them mixing the thing to this thing. So when they take one shot, they say, this one is strong. Yes, they don't know the content. So by the time this law is passed, selling such things will not exist in the park. At least it will sanitize our park and we will be safe when we are traveling. So there is something you said concerning the health. You see, if we have also in our committee asked government that we need a community-based rehab center. Okay. Because on daily basis, people keep on bringing their children to me, and I don't have the facility to keep them. When I now said, okay, I assess them, and they are at high risk. We have assessment we do, low risk, middle risk, and high risk. When a child is, or a user is at high risk, NDLA cannot do anything than to refer that person to neuropsychiatric hospital. And in Ogun State, once you say arrow, the person will run away. That was why the committee was soliciting for a community-based rehab, or even, what do we call it? There is a name we call it, just where you can come in and if you have a drug problem, say it, you get your solution, your drugs. If you need to be inpatient, you will be there. If you need to be outpatient, you will be attended to. Because when I now mention Aro, I will not see them again. And when I call them, they will prefer to go back with the problem. So that's why we are soliciting for a community-based. A lot of people have issue with drug. It's not necessarily those people that you see that are already having mental disorder. A lot of people have problem with drug, but they cannot come out because of when you refer them, they will be stigmatized. That is why we are also using this venue to tell people that don't stigmatize a drug user. It can be anybody. It's just a habit. When from now you now grow to become addict. When you're addict, you are helpless.
Okay, our time is really fast spent, but Dr. Indi, very, very quickly, because time is almost up. I also know that some of these drugs that are being abused can be gotten at chemists, whereby many of them should be gotten due to doctor's prescription. But at times, that's actually not the case. Because some of these chemists are even being managed by quacks.
Well, even at that, we have people who go out to monitor that, and they also censor people that sell drugs out of prescription, like the codeine cough syrups. They censor them, like tramadol. They must not be found, in patent medicines. So and there are categories of drug shops that are permitted, pharmacies to patent medicine. So it is those people, those that do beyond their capacity, their prescribed capacities, are usually sanctioned. That's the way that is managed, monitored, and they pay fine, they pay penalties, and there is an active surveillance on such activities. That is.
Let me come in some more, please, before you round up, just some minutes. As we are also talking of these controlled drugs, yes, we call them controlled drugs. It's being controlled. But we should not forget that we should make it accessible to people that need it. Okay. There are people that have terminal issues that need tramadol, that need morphine.
So that should come with a prescription?
Yes, they come with prescription, because I will call it a church member that was sick. He has cancer. They prescribed tramadol for him. The hospital, they were not having. I went all the pharmacies, some of them are not having. Even with the prescription, I couldn't see. I said, what is happening? So I had to call Fafiolu, the chairman. He now said I should go to state hospital. When I reach, I should say it's from him. That was now I got it and now send it to the person at the jail. What I'm saying is that we also want to use this avenue to make it available to people that need this. It's the abuse that is the problem.
All right.
And also, then we now control it so that there is no diversion for non-medical use.
We have to go at this point. I know that there are so many things that we can talk about when it comes to the issue of drug abuse control and all of that. The UN has aptly themed it for this year, better knowledge for better care. I think we just have to continue laying emphasis on the knowledge, the information, and of course the care aspects which we have all talked about. We have to thank you for being on the program here today, Dr. Adesanya Inde, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Health. But on this program today, you are here for Ogun State Drug Control Committee. So our questions actually meant for Ogun State Drug Control Committee, not as and Mrs. Ekuri Ukeria, we also thank you for coming. Principal Staff Officer, Drug Demand Reduction, NDLEA. We thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And that's where we're going to draw the curtain on the program today. Well, Monday is another time. Another group will be here. And of course, that's what we run through Friday, English, Yoruba, like that. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Samek